Hi everyone, and welcome back to Fully Playable Games, and also back to another week in gaming video. So yeah, we are going to be looking at some of the top stories that have come out this week in gaming, and yeah, it's been quite an interesting one. So for the first story that we're going to be looking at, and this is going to be carrying on from normal with some Switch 2 news. But this isn't going to be about something that Nintendo necessarily wants to talk about. And that is about Nintendo fans fighting back against Switch 2 scalpers. So yeah, I saw this and I thought it was absolutely hilarious. So you'll see here, Switch 2 pre-orders have gone live in most of the world, but not here in the US or Canada. Obviously, the article Go Nintendo, the website Go Nintendo is based in the US, due to Nintendo figuring out a path. I will admit this morning we did actually have, there are some rumours now floating around that we are looking between the 21st of April and the 30th of April for the US and Canada pre-orders to go live. Gamers worry about hardware scalpers with every generation, and the Switch 2 is no different. It can be hard to snag a pre-order with millions of people rushing to the internet to secure theirs. Over on Reddit, a number of subscribers have popped up with the aim to stop Switch 2 scalpers in their tracks. These do-gooders are looking at auction sites to use their fine print against the scalpers, and it's working. Take eBay, for example, which has a rule against selling items unless they are shipped within 40 days. As the Switch 2 launches on June 5th, that 40-day shipping window isn't possible, and has led to Nintendo fans reporting scalpers listings and eBay yanking them down. So yeah, I heard about this and I thought it was absolutely amazing. So hats off to everyone, because yeah, I have seen on eBay there are people listing the Switch. I will admit they're not listing for the Switch for as much as they would have done, like with the PS5, for example. I think I'm seeing prices of like $550 to $600 for the Switch. So yeah, they're not massively marking it up, but even still, personally, I don't think they, if it was me, if I was a scalper and I was specifically going out there to basically make as much money off these consoles as possible, I wouldn't be listing them for sort of £550, £600 when I'm picking them up for 400. So they're probably making about 100 quid a unit. And I think, to me, that's not a lot when you think you've got your fees involved in that as well, and sort of postage. It is just, yeah, it just doesn't seem worth it to me. But say they want to do it for that price, that's down to them. But yeah, massive hats off to all of the people on Reddit that are involved in this, that are reporting them, getting these listings taken down, and yeah, actually opening up the pre-order market to genuine people that actually want to get the console. So yeah, absolutely over the moon with that. And yeah, it is good to see the scalpers once again being taken down a peg or two. And yeah, I remember back to when the PS5 was in short supply, and then a couple of months later, everyone's then able to get the PS5 at retail, and you're seeing scalpers that have literally got loads of, like, stacks of consoles sitting there, and they can't sell them. So yeah, really good to see that people are finally taking on the scalpers. Then next up, we have got a leak that has come out literally within the last day. I think it was yesterday this dropped. Yes, was. And that is about Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake. So this is something that has been spoken about and been rumoured about for absolutely ages. Whereas now it has been confirmed, and right the way down to the company that's actually developing the game has confirmed that it's in development. So yeah, Eurogamer published this. So it's a remake of Bethesda's beloved Oblivion, has been expected for years and has been subject to numerous industry whisperings in recent weeks. Eurogamer understands Bethesda's current plans is to shadow drop the game next week on PC, PS5 and Xbox Series X, including via Games Pass. So yeah, keep your eye on both sort of Twitter, YouTube, everything like that. The rumours are that that Microsoft are going to shadow drop this next week, and yeah, literally as soon as it shadow drops, you'll be able to get it on Game Pass. I'll be honest, for me, it's not a big deal for me. I've never really been a massive fan of the Skyrim series. I've always much preferred the Fallout series. So yeah, I am still hoping for a Fallout 3 remaster, but yeah, we'll see with that one. But what we did get as well was we did get a couple of comparison shots as well. So this is the 2006 Xbox 360 version, and then this is the remaster. So once again, it is being titled a remaster and not a remake. So yeah, really good for Skyrim fans. And yeah, it actually does look, I'll be honest, the 2006 version looks really, really good for its sort of time. But yeah, I think the new version looks good as well. So yeah, that's another good release that's coming out. And yeah, hopefully we'll find that out next week when Microsoft announce it. Then next up, we have got another instance of Sony literally draining the cow dry. And yeah, this was announced during the week. And that is The Last of Us Complete Collector's Edition. So this is a compilation, that was it, of both The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2. I believe, yeah, so steelbook case with the physical discs of The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us Part 2 remastered. So these will be the PS5 editions that have been released. Left Behind prequel chapter, Last of Us American Dream Comics number 1 to 4 with new cover art, a set of 4 lithographic prints, and a thank you letter from Neil Druckmann. Yeah, this has not gone down well with the PlayStation community. So if we jump over to the post on Twitter, so this was PlayStation's announcement of the Last of Us Complete Edition. We need Part 3. Respectfully, I mean this respectfully, my king, please move on from this franchise. 10 greatest games of the years, hand down. This story never gets old. How much are they paying you guys to tweet this so many times a day? Move on. There were some really, really good ones, actually. And I love The Last of Us. And I love The Last of Us. Enough is enough. So yeah, it is very, very much seen in the community that yeah, this game, or these two games, have literally been flogged to death. I think when I looked earlier on, there's 7 versions of this. So you've got Last of Us on the PS3, the PS4 remake, the standard version of Part 2, the Part 1 on the PS5, Part 2 remastered on the PS5, and I swear there's another one. I swear there's a 7th one. But yeah, it is just, do you know what I mean? Instead of constantly re-releasing the same game over and over again. Now, don't get me wrong, I love The Last of Us. I've played both 1 and 2. On Friday, I've actually got a review of the first episode of the second series of a TV show coming up. So I absolutely love The Last of Us. But yeah, even from my perspective, like I've got, what have I got? I've got 4 copies of The Last of Us. No, sorry, 3 copies of the original Last of Us. So I've got the original PS3 version that I got when it was first released. I've recently picked up the Ellie Edition, Collector's Edition. And then I've also got the remaster on the PS4. And to be quite honest, I've played them both on the PS4. So I've played both the Remaster and Last of Us 2. And yeah, while for me, I really enjoyed the games, but I've got no intentions of picking them up on the PS5, the PS6, the PS17. It's just, yeah, I've got the games. I don't need them looking... Right, yes, it's nice to sort of have games that are looking good, but instead of constantly re-releasing the same game with slight graphical improvements, give us Last of Us free. That's what the fan base wants. That's what everyone is clambering for. So, yeah, just give us Last of Us free, and then we'll all be happy. Then, moving on from that, we move on to Ubisoft. And yeah, they are not pulling any punches, let's say that. So Ubisoft holds firm in the Crew lawsuit. You don't own your video games. So this was about a lawsuit. It was a class action lawsuit that was released about people that were essentially suing Ubisoft because they'd shut down the Crew servers, and because they'd actually bought the physical discs. Everyone felt that they were entitled to be able to access that game forevermore. To me, this is an absolutely brilliant lawsuit, purely from the perspective that it is going to set the groundwork for this. And yeah, this is one of the first major titles that have shut down the servers for a game and essentially killed the game completely. But this is the first time where... Oh, sorry, it isn't the first time they've shut servers down for a game, but this is the first time that legal action has been taken against a studio for shutting down a game. So, Ubisoft responded to the California Gamers, the Crew shutdown lawsuit in late February, filing to dismiss the case. The company's lawyers argue that filing, reviewed by Polygon, that there's no reason for players to believe they were purchasing unfettered ownership rights to the game. Ubisoft has made it clear. Lawyers claimed that when you buy a copy of the Crew, you're merely buying limited access license. Ubisoft released the Crew open world racing game in 2014 and shut the servers down a decade later in 2024 due to server infrastructure and licensing constraints. Because the Crew was an online only, it meant the game became totally unplayable when the servers were turned off. Ubisoft offered refunds to players who recently purchased the game, but lots of people were unable to get refunds, the majority of players likely purchasing the game much earlier. And yeah, it has been, so it's here, it's long been the case when with digital media, that companies that are licensing the game rather than selling it outright, but it's not something that's been totally obvious to all and become a bigger issue as technology ages and games like the Crew get shut down. To mitigate the issue, Government Gavin Newsom signed a California bill into law in 2024 forcing companies to more prominently display a note that consumers are buying a license and don't technically own the game itself. On March 18, the plaintiffs responded with the amended complaint to address the issue brought up by Ubisoft and add additional accusations. The Ubisoft is breaking rules around the sales of gift certificates, something they argue the Crew currently could not be considered. In California, gift cards can't expire. So, yeah, the Ubisoft argued that the statute of limitations is up. Plaintiffs respond with their own photos of the Crew packaging, which states the activation code for the game does not expire until 2099. This is an example of how Ubisoft implied that the Crew will remain playable during this time and long thereafter. Per the amended complaint, there was no reason to suggest the Crew would shut down. The lawyers said until 2023 when the game was announced to be shut down, so that was the statute of limitations. So that the statute of limitations is not up. So yeah, this is, for me, this is a really interesting one because, as I say, I'm glad that this lawsuit's come into place because I am a staunch opponent for online games and everything digital. I don't like it. And it's not even take out the equation the fact of being a collector. The reason I don't like it is because for years, all of these companies, they've sold you digital games, and it's only been in the last sort of 18 months that they've finally had to show their hand and have started removing games that games, films, TV shows, the whole lot that people have paid for. And yeah, for some reason though, people still aren't understanding. They're still going out and they're still spending money on digital games for them just to disappear in the future. Now, when I buy a game and I play it to capture footage, I make sure that my console isn't plugged in to the internet. So, for example, if I'm playing, whether it be a PS4 game, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, everything like that, the consoles are never connected to the internet, purely because I want to see how much of that game I can play. Because if that game requires a download, now whether that is a patch to the game before that was released, sort of like a day one patch, or if it is just the fact that they built it so that it doesn't function without internet connectivity, essentially then the studio, Sony, Microsoft, all of that have still got control over that game. So when they decide, you know what, we're not supporting it anymore, then that's it. It becomes a coaster. It's no good. It is literally just you either stick your drink on top of it, or you just stick it in a shelf just to collect dust. And that's not what I want for my collection. It's not what I want for the games that I enjoy playing. And yeah, I will admit I have seen some games that have had problems. So not Last of Us, Life is Strange, double exposure. There was so many bugs, glitches and everything like that playing through it. But apart from sort of one or two instances of it crashing, I had no issues playing the game. And I still didn't do the update on it. I think there's only been one game recently that I've done that with. Going back actually, The Last of Us Part 2. Playing it on the PS5. It got to a certain point and it just kept crashing until I actually done an update. So, but I think that was more of a PS5 issue than a game issue. But yeah, we've seen over the years, obviously, the prevalence that all of these studios have got for releasing online games. And it is purely down to the perspective of, is they know that they can release that game and they will continue to make money off that game until they decide they don't want it anymore. And then that's it. They kill it. Another one that is awful for this is Activision. And not necessarily from an online perspective, but it's the fact that all Call of Duties now, if you want to play the single player version of a game, you essentially have to download it. It's never on discs now. And yeah, every time now I buy a Call of Duty, at the end of the day, I've got to the point now where I will only spend £1 on a Call of Duty game. To me, they're not worth anything more because essentially they're going to be shelf fillers because, yeah, you can't play them after Ubisoft decides that that's it. You haven't got the rights to it anymore. But yeah, it's... I'll be interested to see where this goes. So obviously just down the end here, you'll see with the new additions in the amended complaint that brings up gamers' claims of wrongdoing up to 9 counts. They asked the courts to clarify the class action lawsuit. Ubisoft has till April 29th to respond once again. So yeah, hopefully this keeps pushing forward. I'll be very surprised if this gets thrown out. Well, to be honest, I'll be very disgusted if it gets thrown out as well. So yeah, this will be an interesting one to follow, and yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing where that goes. So moving on to the last story for today, and this one is going to be based around Sony and the PS5, because the PS5 is actually going to be getting a price increase in Europe, Australia and New Zealand. So yeah, basically Sony have said with a backdrop of a challenging economic environment, including high inflation and fluctuating exchange rates, Sony International Entertainment has made the tough decision to raise the recommended retail price for the PS5 console in selected markets in Europe, the Middle East, Africa, Australia and New Zealand. The updated PS5 RRPs are effective starting the 14th of April and are as follows. So in Europe, it's only affecting the digital edition, and that's getting a price increase to €499.99. In the UK, once again, only the digital edition goes to £429.99. Then in Australia, it's actually going to affect both variants of the PS5. So the standard PS5 with Ultra HD Blu-ray disc drive goes up to $829.95 Australian dollars. The PS5 digital edition goes to $749.95 Australian dollars. And then New Zealand is getting the disc edition is going up to $949.95 New Zealand dollars. And the digital edition is going up to $859.95 New Zealand dollars. So yeah, it is obviously as well. If we look down here, the PS5 Pro is remaining unchanged, which I'm not surprised because the price of that as is so expensive. Additionally, the disc drive for the PS5 will be getting a RRP decrease effective starting April the 14th. So in Europe, it goes down to $79.99, UK $69.99, Australia $124.95, and New Zealand $139.95. So yeah, it isn't great, the fact that these companies are constantly increasing the prices of the consoles. Yeah, it just is what it is. But a lot of people, I think, have been reading a bit too much into this. The fact that for Europe and the UK, the disc edition isn't seeing a price increase. They say, oh, this could mean that the PS6 is going to be digital only. Well, to be honest, yes, I think the PS6 is going to be digital only. I've seen people sort of mention that they think that they will take the same approach with the PS6 as the PS5 Pro, where you can basically you can buy a separate disc drive and attach it. I'll be honest, I don't even think they're going to do that. I think Sony is finally going to take the chance and force a digital only. I think they are. I'm really hoping they don't, because I will be honest, if the PS6 is digital only, then that will be the end of me collecting sort of new, like, modern consoles. I won't buy it. I've got no interest in it. I will literally, I'll finish with the PS5, which will be a shame because obviously I won't then have the opportunity to play newer games. But yeah, I am not being forced into a sort of digital infrastructure because, as I said with the Ubisoft story, I'm not being put in the position where I'm going to spend this money on a game, whereas now we've got games that are being released for £80, with the potential right round the corner for £100. I am not putting £100 down on a game to be told in 10, 12, 15, even 20 years time that, no, sorry, your license expired, you're not playing this anymore. Nah, no. And that is why I am firmly behind anyone that's trying to take down this current digital mindset with regards to the sort of development companies and the hardware manufacturers. So yeah, I think that the PS6 will be digital only. I'll be very, very surprised if there is a physical aspect to the PS6. But with the PS5, do you know what? I think with this, even though Sony are saying for challenging economic environment, now that, I think, for me, points to one thing and one thing only. They're trying to offset costs when it comes to the US, because for Sony, I think it's a really high percentage, like in 90s, I think it is, if it's not 100. Basically, 80% of PS5s are actually made in China. So you'd be looking at tariffs of up to, was it 145% for China? And I think what Sony are doing is they are increasing prices in a couple of regions. And then once the tariffs have been confirmed in the States, they'll put a bit of an increase over in the States. Not quite as bad as everyone was expecting. So they think, oh, Sony's being really great with this. When actually what they're doing is they're just spreading the cost for the US across the whole world. That's what I think is happening. That's what I think is behind these price increases. But yeah, we'll see. Only time will tell. But yeah, it is disappointing to see the prices go up again. But hey ho, that's the way that things are going at the moment. So yeah, so that is going to be the wrap up for this week in gaming. Let me know down in the comments below. Have you seen any other stories that caught your eye this week? And what do you think about the stories that we covered? Are you going to be buying the Elder Scrolls remaster, isn't it? It's remaster, not remake. Or the collector's edition for the complete collector's edition of The Last of Us. But yeah, it's been an interesting one. I think we're going to start seeing a couple more interesting stories come out over the next week as well. Obviously, we'll find out whether Oblivion does actually shadow drop next week. Also, I think next week we might actually start getting figures for Assassin's Creed as well. So there's been a lot of talk around Assassin's Creed, the fact that it's like the #2 best-selling game in the world. But yeah, we should start seeing actual figures for sort of sales and everything like that, hopefully next week. So yeah, fingers crossed that does come out, and we'll be able to talk about that in next week's video. But with that said, that is going to wrap up today's video. But before you head off, if you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're not already, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell to be kept up to date when I upload new videos. And yeah, with that said, thank you so much for watching today. Really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, bye.